Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're heading somewhere truly special, a place that really captures the imagination, doesn't it? A massive testament to an ancient world.
Absolutely.
We are diving deep into the incredible world of Machu Picchu.
Fantastic topic.
Yeah, our source material is excerpts from Machu Picchu Inca Majesty in the Andes. It gives this really broad but quite detailed look at this ancient wonder.
It's a great source for this.
Okay, let's unpack this. Our mission, like always, is to get into the history, the amazing architecture, the, cultural side, the spiritual meaning, and even the practical stuff about visiting. We're pulling out the most important bits for you.
And what's fascinating here is just how Machu Picchu mixes that deep sense of mystery with, well, sheer human brilliance.
Right.
These sources really give us a comprehensive view on why it's still so captivating, much more than just, old stones. It feels alive.
It really does.
So maybe just to start, what comes to mind for you, listening now, when you think of Machu Picchu? I bet it's something pretty breathtaking, maybe a little mystical.
Oh, absolutely. It conjures up so much. And its story is as dramatic as the mountains around it. So let's just jump right into the history.
It's good.
We're talking about a 15th century Inca citadel. And it's perched way, way up in the Andes, about 2,430 meters. That's nearly 8,000 feet above sea level.
Just incredible altitude.
Imagine building that up there. It was built under Emperor Pachacuti, probably around, 1450 AD?
That's the accepted time frame, yes.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Its purpose, still debated, right?
Yeah.
Was it a royal estate, a religious retreat, maybe a fortress? The sources mention all three.
Yeah, that ambiguity is definitely part of the magic. And the sources, well, they don't give a final answer, which is interesting in itself. For the royal estate idea, you've got these high-quality buildings, administrative spots. It suggests a kind of lavish country escape for Pachacuti and his court. A mountain getaway, maybe?
Okay, I can picture that.
But then you have all these temples, ceremonial plazas, the Intihuatana stone, we'll get to that, which really points towards a major religious sanctuary. A place for pilgrimage, maybe, and definitely astronomical observation.
And the fortress idea?
That one's maybe less emphasized in our texts, but you can't ignore the strategic location, the steep slopes, guardhouses at the entrances. It feels defensible. Perhaps it was a bit of all three. Its function might have even changed over time.
That makes sense.
What we do know, though, is what happened later. It was abandoned in the 16th century, probably around the time the Spanish arrived.
Right.
And this is the crucial bit. The real aha moment. Unlike so many other Inca sites, Machu Picchu was never actually found or destroyed by the Spanish.
Wow, so they just missed it.
Seems like it. Whether that was accidental or, maybe the Incas managed to keep it hidden. Who knows? But because of that, it was preserved, like this almost perfect time capsule, an undiluted look at that civilization.
That non-discovery is huge then.
Arguably its most significant historical detail. And that led to its quote-unquote rediscovery in 1911 by the American explorer Hiram Bingham.
That's the name everyone knows.
Exactly. And that really put it on the map globally. UNESCO World Heritage Site in '83, one of the new 7 wonders in 2007. Its preservation connects its ancient story right to its modern fame.
That's a great point. What didn't happen is key. But, okay, how do they build this massive city in such a seemingly impossible place? That takes us to the engineering marvel of it all. The architecture, the design. The Incas used this technique, ashlar masonry. Can you picture it? These huge stones, some weighing tons, cut so perfectly they fit together without any mortar.
It's incredible craftsmanship.
The sources say the fit is so tight you literally can't slide a knife blade between the stones. Doing that without modern tools. It's just astonishing.
Truly.
And the scale, the whole site covers about 32,500 hectares with around 200 structures. It's cleverly split into 2 main zones, right? The agricultural sector, those famous terraces for farming and stopping erosion.
Crucial on those slopes.
And then the urban sector with the temples, plazas, houses, ceremonial spots. What does that ashlar masonry tell us beyond just precision about how they understood their environment?
Well, it tells us they had this incredibly advanced grasp of construction and their surroundings, especially earthquakes.
Right. Active seismic zone.
Very active. So if we connect this to the bigger picture, that ashlar masonry with the tightly fitted mortar-free stones let the buildings kind of flex during tremors. They absorbed the shock instead of cracking.
So early seismic engineering.
Essentially, yes. Utterly remarkable for the time. Now, if we look at specific features, the Intihuatana stone really jumps out.
Tell us about that.
Our sources call it a ritual stone. It's this finely carved pillar that worked like a super precise solar clock or astronomical calendar.
How did it work?
By tracking the sun's shadow across its carved angles at certain times, the priests could figure out the solstices and equinoxes really accurately.
Which was vital for farming.
Exactly. Knowing when to plant, when to harvest, and also for timing their religious festivals. It says so much about their scientific know-how and their reverence for the stars.
Amazing. And the Temple of the Sun?
Another key sacred site, dedicated to Inti, their sun god. It has this beautiful semicircular wall with a window perfectly placed to catch the first sunlight on the winter solstice, lighting up a sacred stone inside.
Wow.
And there's the Room of the Three Windows, thought to have deep religious meaning, maybe linked to Inca origin myths, and the Sacred Plaza, the main hub for ceremonies. This whole design wasn't just practical, it was deeply spiritual, astronomical, meant to be in harmony with nature itself.
That harmony, that connection between the structures and the natural world, that leads us right into its cultural and symbolic weight. This isn't just buildings, it's proof of the genius of Inca civilization. Architecture, engineering, astronomy, their whole worldview. It's still this powerful symbol of mystery, of spiritual energy. People call it the lost city of the Incas for a reason. And it gives us such crucial insight into their culture, their religion, that deep connection they had with nature. How does the site itself show that connection visually?
It's really integrated in a way that's hard to describe fully. The sources point out how the buildings are placed, how they're oriented. They often mirror the shapes of the mountains around them.
Ah, okay.
The Incas saw mountains as sacred beings, apismus. So building a city that echoes those natural forms was like building with the landscape, not just on it. It was an extension of their bond with Pachamama, Mother Earth.
I see.
Even things like the water channels engineering feats themselves were designed to capture spring water and flow through the city, almost like the lifeblood from the sacred peaks. It wasn't just looks. It was spiritual alignment.
Fascinating.
And this significance isn't just ancient history. It echoes today. Our sources confirm Machu Picchu is Peru's #1 tourist spot, a national treasure. It shows its lasting value, historically, and as a source of national pride. But, of course, that popularity. Well, this raises an important question, doesn't it? How do you balance all that tourism with protecting such a fragile, irreplaceable place for the future?
That's the million-dollar question for so many sites. And Machu Picchu's approach is very deliberate. So speaking of visiting, let's shift gears to the experience for you if you're thinking of going.
Good idea.
The sources give some practical tips. It's in the Cusco region of Peru. You mainly get there by a scenic train ride, amazing views of the Urubamba River, apparently, or for the adventurous, the famous Inca Trail Trek.
The classic hike.
Yeah, it takes about 4 or 5 days through mountains, past smaller ruins. Best time to go. May to September, the dry season, clearer skies, better trekking.
Definitely drier.
So once you're actually at the site, what can people explore? And how do they manage all those visitors while trying to keep it preserved?
Well, it's an immersive experience, but yeah, carefully managed.
Yeah.
You can explore those incredible terraces, their engineering feats on their own, plus the views are stunning. Many people hike up Huayna Picchu Mountain, that peak you always see in photos, for those amazing aerial views of the whole citadel. Though tickets for that are super limited.
You need to book way ahead, I imagine.
Absolutely. And if you hike the Inca Trail, you arrive through the Sun Gate. Inti Punku, that's the original entrance, gives you that dramatic first look.
Oh, cool.
As for managing visitors, the sources mention big efforts. Visitor numbers are capped daily, around 2,500 people usually. You have to book tickets well in advance, sometimes months ahead, for peak times or hikes like Huayna Picchu.
A necessary protection measure?
Totally. They use a strict circuit system, 2 specific one-way paths to guide people, minimize wear and tear on fragile spots, and just manage the crowds. There's even talk apparently about more rules, like maybe what kind of shoes you can wear, all to make sure it lasts.
That gives you a really complete picture if you're planning a trip. It sounds like a commitment, but probably incredibly worth it.
Oh, definitely.
So what are the main pros and cons someone should weigh up?
Well, the pros are huge. It is absolutely a unique archaeological wonder. History and mystery all rolled into one. The natural scenery, the Andes all around it, that's spectacular in itself.
Right.
It offers this deep cultural, even spiritual experience, connecting with a lost world. And if you like adventure, the trekking options Inca Trail, Salcante Trek are world-class.
Okay. Sounds amazing. Downsides?
There are some. It can be crowded and it can be expensive, especially peak season. You need to budget and plan carefully.
Altitude sickness, too, right?
That's a real risk for some. It's high up. Acclimatizing in Cusco first is usually a good idea, and it definitely takes physical effort, lots of walking, stairs. Plus, those strict rules and limited tickets mean it's not a spontaneous trip. You need to plan ahead. It's the full picture for you to think about.
That's super helpful context. Okay, now for my favorite part. Unpacking the wow with some cool facts from the sources.
Always fun facts.
First, the name, Machu Picchu. It means old mountain in Quechua, the local language. Simple enough. But get this, and it ties back to the engineering we talked about. The Incas built this whole complex city without wheels, without iron tools, and without draft animals like horses or oxen. Just human labor and this incredible knowledge of stone.
It really blows your mind when you stop and think about that.
Hauling those massive stones up a mountain by hand, it's almost unbelievable today. And it was so well hidden, unknown to outsiders for centuries, which, like we said, was key to its survival.
That seclusion was its savior.
And even after all this time, something like 75% of the original structures are still standing, still intact. Speaks volumes about how well they built. Really.
Absolutely testament to their skill.
But here's a question that comes up from all this. How did they nail those astronomical alignments, like in the Temple of the Sun, without telescopes or modern gear?
Yeah, your amazement is totally spot on because it really highlights their incredible ingenuity and just careful observation. They didn't have telescopes, no, but they were master sky watchers.
So they used the architecture itself.
Exactly. They used buildings, natural light, shadows as their instruments. That Temple of the Sun alignment for the solstice, where the light hits just right. That wasn't luck. It was deliberate, precise design.
Wow.
Same with the Intihuatana stone. It was literally a hitching post to the sun. It let them track the sun's path precisely through the year, marking the seasons for farming, for religion. It just shows how their spirituality and their science were completely interwoven.
It all connects.
Every stone, every alignment, every terrace, it tells a story, not just about human skill, but about this profound connection to the cosmos. It really drives home that Machu Picchu is this breathtaking mix of human creativity, spirituality, and that stunning natural beauty.
A true wonder.
It really is. History meets mystery. A place that still inspires awe and makes you wonder, how much more is there to learn from these ancient people?
What an incredible journey we've had today. From its ancient roots and the whole mystery around its purpose, to the unbelievable architecture, its deep cultural meaning, and even how you can experience it today while helping preserve it. We've really unpacked some amazing insights from our source material on Machu Picchu. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
And maybe as we wrap up, think about this. Considering the immense effort, the sheer genius the Incas poured into creating this perfect city, only for it to be abandoned and hidden. What other forgotten wonders do you think might still be out there, hidden, waiting for a modern-day Hiram Bingham to bring them into the light? It really makes you ponder that delicate balance, doesn't it, between our drive to uncover the past and our responsibility to protect these treasures for the future?